Hey everyone, it's Nicholas Wilton at Art to Life, and I want to talk to you today about the making your art habitual and why that can be so helpful. It's been really helpful for me lately. Uh, what I have found in kind of making my practice a habit is or a routine or something where I've got, I have certain times that I work and I've set that up for myself. This has never really worked for me in the past, and I've always set up, and I've specifically in not so even much with art, but also like working out and exercise and certain times of running, and I'd create these schedules, and I would try to fulfill them. I'd say, well, I'm going to run this far on this day, and the next day I'm going to go do this kind of workout, and the next day I'm going to do this, and I would add up all these miles, and this is how many miles I was has to get a week and everything, and I never could do it really, and I would always fall short, and it was kind of depressing, so I would stop. But here's what I've realized now is that it's not so much what you do, but it's the fact that it's more like when you do it. So if I set up a routine for myself now for painting, and I'm going to paint on these certain days, I no longer tell myself how long I have to do this, what it has to look like. I'm shooting for 3 hours, but some days I just don't feel like it, and I don't want to. Or I don't have that amount of time, or I've already worked the day before, or whatever it is. And so what I've started to do is I still record it down. I write down, I'm going to paint on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, but it doesn't matter so much how long. It's just the fact that I showed up and did it for a little bit of time. Like that feels really good to me. Like I've changed the win. In other words, I've reframed the win. This really works. I'm habitual now. And yes, I'm inconsistent in terms of what I pull off, but at least I'm showing up. At least I'm doing something. And invariably it leads, it's growing, it's getting better. So there's this amazing book that I just finished called James Clear, and he's got a whole book on habits called Atomic Habits. I've left a link down below where you can get it, and it's really great. First of all, I love this guy's name, James Clear, because he's so clear, and he really is clear in his writing. I love how he writes. But he talks a lot about habits, and he confirms this idea. And so I thought I would just keep going with this and share a few of the key takeaways that I've gotten out of the book so far, because I think it's really helpful. So one of them is that, doing that little habit like I described, even if you don't do it well, the fact that you're just doing it on those days, and like I did 15 minutes, that's all, that's fine. I am pulling it off. I'm doing it. And those mark improvements. That's this micro improvement. And this is what he talks about, these 1% improvements. If you can do just the smallest little improvement, that you showed up and you did something, and he's literally talking about 1%, the accumulation of that over a year is remarkable. It's a huge amount. And I get it, because I am not painting as much as I would like, but because I'm touch basing it more, because I have a habit, because I have a routine, it's affecting my practice, and my work's getting much better. It's just incremental steps, incremental small points. And so he emphasizes that, like that's how you improve. It's not no one takes giant steps. They do little tiny ones over and over, and a habit's a great way to get to do that. The other point that he makes on these is, he doesn't make this, but this is for me. One of the things that I spend a lot of time doing is deciding if it's the right time to do something. Like, do I feel like doing this, or should I do that? And it's quite a lot of time. Sometimes I just can't figure it out. And it's like, well, if I go and paint, then it's really hot, but I'll probably feel like going out later, and that's cool. But so if I've got a habitual thing set up, it saves me so much time, because I'm doing it. I know that I'm an artist. I want to do this. I've just already confirmed it. And there's all this history that I've been doing it, and that momentum keeps me going. And I don't have to think about it. I just go do it. Now, I might only do it for 15 minutes, but I'm going to do it. That's my commitment. And that just feels really, really good. And I'm saving a lot of time. You know, when you're clear and you're decisive about what you want to do, it's just, there's a lot of spaciousness in that. That's just makes your day easier. And you know, if someone says, hey, do you want to go out and get a beer at 3 o'clock and that's when you paint, you're just like, no, I can't, but maybe at 5. You know, you just know automatically. The other thing that James Clear talks a lot about, and I think this is really brilliant, he talks about creating a habit, but creating something positive associated with it. And because habits that we enjoy doing, right, we have a strong likelihood that we'll continue them. It's the habits we don't like doing that we stop. So one of the things that I'm really into is I have this journal. I should have grabbed it, but I write down. I have this like really cool chart. I spend a lot of time on it, and I write in what I did, and it's so satisfying to see this thing filling out. Like it confirms that I'm doing this. I don't know. There's not many yardsticks in art, right? I mean, you make paintings, but sometimes they're working, sometimes they're not. But this is showing me I'm improving and I'm doing it, and it feels good to write that down. So when I think of painting, part of the positivity of it is just getting to do this thing again, this positive thing. You know, I've talked about this as well as like starting a painting. You know, I didn't ever really think of it this way, but it's the same idea that, you know, I teach people when you're starting a painting, which often is really hard and you kind of avoid it because it's scary, to always have a practice of taking 10 or 15 minutes when you start a painting to experiment and play and have fun and throw paint around, because that's really easy and it's super, super enjoyable, and it kind of gets you going and you learn stuff. But it's the easiest, most fun thing that you've front loaded onto a kind of a hard thing. The habit of starting is made easier by associating it with this carefree playtime, literally playtime. Anyway, that's some really, there's a lot of other really great stuff in the book, but it's just interesting how this book kind of came along when I've been discovering some of the ways to use and, you know, habits to make my art practice more consistent and stronger, frankly. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. You know, what do you do? What are the habits that you do in your work? And maybe share them in the comments below so we can borrow them, because it's just cool to hear all these workarounds. Thanks so much. And for those of you who are new here, please go ahead and download my free color tips PDF download. It's all about making amazing color in your work. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a great Sunday in the studio. Okay.